Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So, I know what you're thinking, it's Friday, we usually have a Brewers Minute on Friday. This week I went to start making the Brewers Minute, and I realized that I promised a deck for every competitive format this week, featuring new Kaladesh cards, and I kinda left one out. I didn't feature a Pauper deck, and while Pauper isn't as popular as some of the other formats, it does have a really passionate and devoted fan base, so I felt bad, so no Brewers Minute this week. Instead, we get another Instant Deck Tag, and this is a super crazy mono black aggro list, 14 Swamp Black, and if you like aggressive decks and you're looking for a way to get into Pauper, this might be the deck for you, because this is about as aggressive as it gets. This one recently took the Z to a 5-0 finish in a Magic Online League, so congrats to the Z on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break it all down, if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So 14 Swamp Black is built around 1-drops. It is super low on lands. That's kind of how you can tell how aggressive a list is how many lands they have, and 14 is absurdly low. 14 lands means we are okay with playing with 1 land, and we probably want 2 lands most of the time at the maximum. 14 is just incredibly low. Your average starting hand is going to have less than 2 lands in it, which is just absurd. So this deck is super aggressive, and it's looking to just play 1-drops like crazy. So there's a couple different groups of 1-drops. This is the 2-powered 1-drop group: Vampire Lacerator, Carnophage, and Bonded Construct. So Vampire Lacerator and Carnophage also have a downside. This is a deck that in the past might have been called Suicide Black, because you're hurting yourself a lot. So the idea is, even though you're hurting yourself and kind of draining your own life total, you're going to be able to hurt your opponent more with these really aggressive creatures. So these creatures come down early, start attacking. The second group of 1-drops are draining 1-drops. So these ones only have 1 power, but whenever they become tapped or attack, they drain the opponent for 1. So the nice thing about these 1-drops, Night Market Lookout, Pulse Tracker, Thornbolt Archer, is even though they're missing that second point of power, they get in damage without actually dealing combat damage. So if you can get in damage in the early game, sooner or later your opponent's going to put up some blockers, but these cards give you a sort of reach, essentially. So even if your opponent can block and kill your 1-drops, they're going to get in this damage from their triggers even though they die. So if you can get an opponent to a low enough life total, you can just kind of slam your team into their blockers. Sure, they're going to die, but you're going to drain your opponent out with these triggers before it happens. Then we have the Make Our 1-drops Better Once They Get Out class package, Carrion Feeder, and another new card, Renegade Freighter. So these help when your opponent gets up so much defense, your 1-drops can't get in anymore. So a Carrion Feeder, you can just sack a 1-drop or any creature, but put a +1/+1 counter on it. You can also get a counter by sacking a creature in response to your opponent's removal, so you're kind of getting some value out of it. You can also just sack a bunch of stuff after blocks are declared if Carrion Feeder is unblocked, and kind of fireball your opponent out of the game. Renegade Freighter, once your 1-drops are outclassed, you just tap them, crew it up. When it attacks, it's a 5/4 with trample, which is just super huge. So it's a good way to get in some damage once your opponent's defense is assembled. Then we have a couple of 2-drops. Borrow Ghoul, big for its mana cost, has a big restriction. You gotta keep exiling stuff from your graveyard to keep it alive. And then Shepherd of Ra is like the ultimate drain card. Tap it, each player loses a life for each zombie in play, and you have a whole bunch of zombies, 14 zombies in all. So this can drain for like 5-10 damage. Of course it's draining you too, but the idea is you get in that early damage, your opponent's going to die from the draining before you do. We also have 4 Dark Rituals, so we can Dark Ritual on turn 1, play 3 1-drops, potentially have 6 power attacking on turn 2, which is absurd, especially in Pauper. Then we have Foul Tongue Shriek as kind of the overrun. This is the finisher, so we play it. It deals a damage, or it makes an opponent lose a life for each attacking creature you control, and you gain that much life. So you swing with all the 1-drops. You're already getting some random damage in from pulse trackers and those creatures. Play this, just drain the opponent for like 8 life, 10 life, finish off the game. Plus you gain back a bunch of life, which helps with all the damage you're dealing yourself with your Vampire Lacerators and Carnophages and all that stuff. Snuff Out is a removal spell. Pretty much, you got to pay for life, but if you pay for life, you get to kill a non-black creature for free, no mana, and it can't be regenerated. You can also cast it for 4 mana, unlikely in this deck though. I can't imagine it getting to 4 mana often, and if it's getting to 4 mana, probably losing anyway. Mana base, as I said, 14 swamps. Sideboard, Disciple of the Vault to fight against artifact decks. You don't have enough artifacts in your deck for this to be good with your creatures and artifacts dying, but it triggers off opposing artifacts, so if your opponent's playing Affinity and a bunch of artifacts are dying, this is a good hoser to that. And then a bunch more cheap removal. Gut Shot, free, 1 point of damage, costs you 2 life. Spinning Darkness, you can exile 3 black cards from your graveyard, does 3 damage, you gain 3 life to a creature. And then Shrivel gets rid of a bunch of tokens, it might be clogging up the board, keeping it so your 1-drops can't attack. And that is 14 Swamp Black for Pauper, and that's been our Instant Deck Tech for today. So thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.